Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news, interviews and fun for the WordPress community. Now, welcome your host, Nathan Wrigley. Hello there, and welcome once again to the WP Builds podcast. You've reached episode number 460, entitled Turning WordPress Blogs into eBooks with Naweed Chougle. It was published on Thursday, the 12th of March, 2026. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and before we have that chat about Naweed's lovely plugin, a few bits of housekeeping. Well, not too much in all honesty. The first thing to say is that if you enjoy what we do over at WP Builds, head over to wpbuilds.com/subscribe. There's lots of different techniques for keeping up with us. So we've got our X channel, we've got our YouTube channel. There's obviously the email list. We would love it if you subscribe to that. If you do, we will send you 2 emails a week. One is every Thursday so that we can alert you that we've published a new podcast episode. That is in fact what you're listening to right now. But also on a Monday, we do the This Week in WordPress show, and we package that up as a podcast episode and send the messaging out via email on a Tuesday morning. So wpbuilds.com/subscribe to get onto that list. We would really love that. Also, if you fancy joining us for that show, the This Week in WordPress show, it's at the same time every week. It's a Monday, 2 p.m. UK time, and the URL to join in live and join in the comments is wpbuilds.com/live. If you have a product or service in the WordPress space, maybe you're a plugin owner or a hosting company, or perhaps you've got a theme, who knows? We would love to get you in front of our very large WordPress specific audience. Head to wpbuilds.com/advertise to find out more, or circumvent all of that nonsense and just send me an email, admin@wpbuilds.com. Okay, what have we got for you today? Well, as I said at the top of the show, today we are talking with Naweed Chougle all about his plugin. It's called eBook Crafter, and, well, guess what it does? It turns your content into ebooks. Now, it may be that you have never thought about doing this, but perhaps you or your clients have got a backlog of blog posts. Maybe you've got infographics and things like that you would like to repurpose in some way. Ebooks are on the rise. I know it feels like ebooks have been around for a little while now, but certainly in my case, I consume everything through an ebook. I very rarely read a paper-based book anymore. And so Naweed's plugin, eBook Crafter, enables you to do all of that. We get into the technology behind it. We get into the reason why he built it. What are the formats that you can export to? And what can you expect from the plugin in the future? It's all coming up next, and I hope that you enjoy it. I am joined on the podcast by Naweed Chougle. Hello.
Hello, Nathan, and thank you for having me on this podcast.
You're so welcome. We're going to be talking today about something I actually don't think we've talked about before. And coincidentally, it's something I'm actually very passionate about, and that is ebooks. I consume a lot of ebooks. Many years ago, I switched from purchasing paper-based books to ebooks when it was kind of non-fiction. If it's fiction. If it's non-fiction, I still tend to buy paper-based books, but for anything where I can read from page 1 to page 900 or whatever it may be, my preferred method of doing that is now an ebook. And I imagine the same is true for a lot of you. You might be doing it on a Kindle or a Kobo or something like that, but equally, perhaps you're doing it on an iPad, or, dare I say it, even on your laptop screen or something like that. And Naweed has got a plugin which is very much in development. It's called eBook Crafter. And I'm going to encourage you, dear listener, to head to this URL. If you go to eBook Crafter, it's exactly as you'd imagine. There's no hyphens or anything like that. ebookcrafter.com. Go and have a little bit of a poke around. Pause the podcast. Come back. And you'll be completely in the know as to what we're talking about today. So welcome to the podcast, Naweed. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you. Give us a bit of your background story. I know that you've been in the WordPress space for many, many years, but just tell us how it is that you came to be creating plugins and particularly eBooks. What's your interest there? So yeah, it's a little moment to tell us just your backstory, but particularly about this, how you came to be WordPress related, plugin related and eBook related.
Okay. So I discovered WordPress back in 2011. It was WordPress 2.0 that I started using. And I've been building sites of various complexity since then, some for non-profit, some for complex defense use cases. And sometime around 2015, I happened to be working for a non-profit that was content rich in its website. And they needed a tool to create an ebook out of existing posts, because they wanted to, spread information offline, away from screens, away from computers. They felt that would be more immersive for their audience.
Yeah.
So I looked around to see if there were plugins available, and I found Anthologize, which was pretty good at that time. Okay, you could choose which post you want to export or custom post types, and then move everything into a PDF or EPUB format. But the key drawback was that you couldn't edit anything within the dashboard. And that's when I thought I needed to create something that should help users edit the content before exporting it. So a few years passed, and Anthologize, unfortunately, is no longer available. So that's when I decided I should jump in and create this plugin, which would be, close to the native experience. Okay, with the block editor available for you to repurpose content.
Yeah.
So when you click Add New eBook using eBook Crafter, you'll be presented a block editor along with a settings area where you can summon posts based on categories or based on the field the text that you type in the search field. And within a few moments, you can gather several dozen or so posts. Okay, you can rearrange them using the document overview, and you can add your own content. So let's say you've been blogging for a while, and you say, okay, next week we're going to be looking at a new topic on WordPress security. So of course, when you're writing an ebook, there's no next week. You're going to be evergreen in your content, right?
Yeah.
So you need to edit that out. You can do it right there within the dashboard, and it's all working. There's a demo available on the site. And although I'm starting out, the output you will generate is a pretty decent one in PDF format. And I have a lot of plans to improve the output formatting, and also increase the number of output formats that will be available. So that's a bit of a summary of my project.
No, that's really nice. That gives me some sort of orientation. So I guess in my situation, this is kind of really perfect because I am already a convert over to the ebook format. But it may be that people who don't have one of those, devices, they don't have an ebook, it's been a long time since they read a PDF or something like that. What is the sort of what is the proposition of turning already existing content into a different format? What kind of an audience can you reach, in other words, that's different from people coming to your website? Now, I guess the first one that comes to mind is just offline, right? You don't need to be in any way, shape or form online. You can attach it to an email or something like that. But I'm wondering if you've got, other scenarios apart from email and offline, which you might like to tell us about.
Okay. Over the last several years, we've been seeing a lot of discussion on falling attention span. So this is definitely a problem that we all need to address. People who spend a lot of time on the internet have limited attention span. So as a business owner, you may be wondering how to catch everyone's attention quickly. But There's also a challenge when it comes to the dopamine hits that you get constantly, right? From the short form content, from the Twitter, the X posts that you see. Sometimes it's about sports, and then the next moment it's a lot about politics, and then whatnot. So when you have content in the ebook format, okay, in whether it's PDF or EPUB, you're ensuring that your audience, it's going to be a wide range, okay? It's not just a specific kind of audience. It could be students who need to concentrate on their study. It could be maybe, a travel enthusiast, solo travelers who are looking for a travel guide, which is immersive. So you can create an ebook which will help them achieve a coherent experience of the entire content that you've been generating for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Again, I can really identify with that because when I sit down, one of my passions from a very early age has been reading books, just fiction, non-fiction, whatever it may be. And that process of sitting down and deliberately creating time to do it is very different to my experience of sitting in front of a computer. That is to say, I've got one objective. The objective is to get from this page to further into the book for an hour or more. And I really provide myself that time. There's no distractions. There's nothing about the ebook which is going to suddenly inject an ad. I'm not going to get some sort of incendiary piece of content about politics which is going to divert me away. There's going to be no pop-up trying to capture my email address or anything like that. And if you're not an ebook reader or not a book reader in general, it's kind of hard to understand how that can be important, but important it is. It's just a totally different framing of the experience of reading words. You provide the space, make sure it's not interruptible. And I guess if you can provide your WordPress blog content in that same format, it might be that the people who engage with it have the capacity to drill down into it a little bit more, to give it the undivided attention that we're all seeking as content creators.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, some of the most memorable reading experiences may have come from either physical or digital books, okay? So this is a chance for the bloggers, publishers to post the value of their content, okay? They can post how memorable they can make their content. So, for instance, I read a white paper from Human Made about WordPress in 2026.
Yes, I read that as well. Yeah.
Yes, so that's a more memorable experience. Okay, you know what's going to go on in the coming months. Okay, so you don't have to hop from one tab to another and forget what happened. Because for a long time I've been wondering what can we do about all the 15 tabs that we have open in the browser. We need a way to, assimilate everything and come up with a more coherent experience where we don't jump from one idea to another and then forget what we are actually looking. Right?
Yeah.
So this plugin hopefully should give content creators an opportunity to, create that experience for their readers.
So if let's say, for example, I've been writing a blog about whatever it is that I'm interested in, and I've got, I don't know, let's go for 100 blog posts or 200 blog posts or something like that. In other words, I've got this corpus of information. I've already written it, and I've got this intuition that, okay, it would be nice to sum of that up, take, let's say, 10 of those articles which are related to one particular subject, because my blog is wide-ranging and I delve into different things. That I'm guessing is what you're creating here. There's the capacity in the back end, once the plugin is installed, to go in and select blog posts that you've created, organize them, reorder them or what have you, click publish, and then out of the back end pops an ebook. Is that the basics of what it'll do? I'm sure there's more, but is that the basics?
Yes, that's pretty much perfect summary of the workflow. Okay. So you can summon the blog post that you need for your ebook. You don't have to call all the blog posts. You don't have to pull all of them together. So let's say you have a series of beginner posts on programming or cooking. So you will very likely have a category for that. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's say, something like a beginner, right? So you can specify the category beginner, and that will help you summon on the blog post of the beginner category. And then you can expand and collapse the blog post from the accordion, display that you get within the blog editor, and you can repurpose the content there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we've got these taxonomies. Does it work with categories as well as tags? Could I, for example,
yes, it works with tags as well.
Right. So
yes.
Hierarchical or non-hierarchical, we can pre-select the category. So let's go with your example of cooking. And I click the cooking category, and my 200 articles is now down to, say, 15, something like that. I've got a much smaller body of work to deal with. Is it true to say then that I can, in your interface, I can go in and edit each of those 15 pieces? Because let's say, for example, that something in one of those pieces is now a little bit out of date. And whilst that's fine on the blog, exactly, I don't want to include that in my ebook. So can I go in a block editor style interface and kind of amend something, delete things, add things, and so on?
Yes, absolutely, you can. So for instance, you've written an amazing article during COVID, and you made a reference to being locked up at home and trying to explore various recipes. So obviously the COVID reference may not be relevant for now in 2026. So you can go into the ebook interface and delete the reference that is irrelevant. You can add something else. You can add images. You can add a quote.
Yep.
And when you save the repurposed, the rewritten content for the ebook, the original blog post is going to retain its content. There's going to be no change there. Right. So the archived content will remain archived. Okay. And it's only the ebook's content that's going to be changed.
Right. Okay. Just let's say though that I have, so this may be something that you're working on. It may be something that you've built already, but I'm just trying to imagine scenarios where I might use this. So let's go back to my example. I've got 15 blog posts. Is there a way that I can keep them in sync such that if I do amend the blog post, the ebook, if anybody downloads it from that moment on, that it will also receive that update? Or do I always have to go into the kind of published ebook and amend it there?
I think that's a really good point. At the moment, the copies will remain separate. Okay?
Yeah.
The original blog post will retain their content, and the newly added content will be saved only in the ebooks.
Yeah, that is the default.
Forward, perhaps, yes. That's the
default,
yes.
The way that you've built it is in fact the best way, without a doubt. Okay. I mean, that's what you want, right? You want to be able to update the content just prior to clicking publish on the ebook. But it just struck me that if you changed no content at all, and those 15 blog posts were identical to what dropped into the ebook, it could be kind of interesting that when you change the blog post, anybody downloading the ebook from that moment on would also receive those updates. In other words, you don't have to change it in two places. But the way that you've built it makes the most sense. It wouldn't, that's just how I would have expected it to be built. So I guess I'm requesting a feature there.
Yes, that's a wonderful feature request. So I can probably include an option to update the blog post.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. In the blog post itself, you could have a toggle, couldn't you? Update the ebook to reflect these changes. Okay. Yeah. So how does the output of my, let's say I've done these 15 blog posts, I've amended them in the plugins backend, I'm very happy with them. What are the constraints on what I can add to an ebook? Because obviously on the web we've got constraints. You can add video, you can add images, there are the CSS which is brought to play to make things go left, right, styling. You can add drop shadows, rounded corners, all the gamut of things that you can do. What can you do in an ebook? What kind of things can you successfully drop into an ebook apart from just text and links?
Well, there's an allowed set of block that you can include. Okay, in the repurposed content, you can add an image, you can add a block code, you can add text, a paragraph, And I think I might be forgetting it. You can add a group as well. You can create a table. Yeah?
Yep.
So I think there's a total of around 5 allowed blocks that you can add right now.
Oh, okay.
Of course, but it's not possible to add just everything like animations and stuff. So
yeah. How would you even do that? Yeah,
right.
Maybe we'll get to that one day. I don't know, but at the moment, the very much the intention of an ebook is to have none of that animation. It's to keep it simple, text, images, and what have you. So the plugin ships with its own suite of blocks, or the things that are available to it are text, images. You can do some alignment with a group, for example. You can drop a code block in. The normal arrangement that you would expect to see, I guess, if you're opening up an ebook. Okay, that makes sense.
And you can change the background color of certain paragraphs as well.
Yes, this is not actually something I've experienced on an ebook yet, because my ebook device is a Kindle. It's reasonably old. And it was created in the era where ebooks just did black and white. They did text and the white-ish background. Now I understand that color is an option in ebooks, which it's not quite. It's nowhere near as vibrant as you would see on a monitor, but that's an interesting thing. You can drop color in as well now, so you can sort of if you've got an image, it looks more like you would intend, apart from. Well, what I get is a very poor version of an image which is shrunken down and black and white. So that's interesting. Okay, so what kind of formats will you produce your ebook in? Because again, if you're not experienced with ebooks, in the same way that on a web page you're looking at markup an HTML document, basically. Ebooks, there's loads of different formats. Some of them are proprietary. Some have got digital rights management over the top of them. Like, so for example, my Kindle content is very deliberately unavailable on other devices. Amazon go out of their way to make it so that you cannot export your DRM content, the books that you bought, and move them to other platforms. But other more open file formats allow that. So how is it that you export this content? My understanding is that at the moment PDF is the option, but you're thinking about some others as well.
Yes, at the moment PDF is the only option, but I'm working on including the EPUB and MOBI formats. And furthermore, I'll be including the DocX format. So there's more versatility.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of curious. A lot of the so for example, if you were to buy a Kindle device, it will read all the different formats. Actually, I'm not even sure if that's true. I think some of the formats they don't read. I think they used to not read EPUB. Maybe they do now. But like I said, you can't take an Amazon book and read it on your Kobo because it's kind of locked down with DRM and what have you. But the Kobo itself will read EPUBs and MOBIs. But at the moment, you're doing PDFs. Does that have any drawbacks? Is there any reason why a PDF in the future, a scenario where you've developed, I don't know, EPUB and MOBI and things like that, is there any scenario where a PDF is superior to a EPUB format, or an EPUB formatted book is superior to a PDF?
Well, EPUB is a very popular format for ebooks. And we see it a lot with help guides. Some people actually think if you are creating an ebook, you should have it in EPUB format, though I disagree. It can be PDF as well. Now, the thing about PDF is that it's compatible with almost any device. I don't remember coming across any issues opening a PDF in all the devices that I've used so far. So EPUB is probably good if you want to move page by page and you want to organize it in that unique format that EPUB provides. Okay, so it's just a different experience that you're going to.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we figured out how the plugin works. You've got these blocks. You can import content that you've already created. Presumably, though, this could be useful for content that you haven't created yet, stuff that is still to be written in the future. Is there any way, do you recommend using the WordPress block editor and always writing the content in there? Or is the intention to write new EPUB only content in the plugin itself? I don't know if that question sort of makes sense to you, but do you understand what I mean? Is it only about creating pre-written blog-based content, or are you trying to encourage people to create ebook content only? Is that possible as well?
This is for ebook content only, and the primary purpose is to help creators revive the value, revive old content. But if they wish, they can add new content as well from the same custom post type.
Okay.
Ebooks, okay?
Right.
So
okay, I hadn't realized that's how it works. Yeah.
Yes, there's no restriction on adding a completely new chapter or a completely new introduction, because blog posts are going to be scattered all over, right? From years ago. So if you want to create an introduction, obviously it's unlikely that you'll have an introduction blog post somewhere. You have to write it from scratch. So you can use that block editor interface to create that content.
Yeah. And where do you find, I mean, maybe you've got some metrics. I know that you're just beginning your journey on this. Where have you come up with some sort of useful use cases for this? So, for example, if you were to rewind the clock on the internet about 10 years, just about everybody was using download an ebook to access this sort of, content that we've got. And in exchange for that, you might swap your email address or something, right. That's kind of how it used to work. I don't know if that's still a popular way. So basically what I'm asking is that still a way that people are using the ebooks that they've created? Or is there some other way that you've experienced people using the output of your plugin?
Yes, that's one of the use cases, the creation of lead magnets, where
there we go.
You showcase your authority. So if you want to talk about starting a podcast and the best tools and the equipment, right? So instead of writing everything on a blog post or a series of blog posts, it's always a good idea to put everything into an ebook and tell your visitors, okay, if you need this ebook, please sign up here, okay? And I'll occasionally send you some updates and news about my next venture, okay? So that's a legitimate way of getting an audience, okay? So people voluntarily will provide their email address in exchange for the ebook. They'll circulate the ebook and spread word about your next venture, your authority, your expertise, and that's a very good way of establishing yourself as a brand you sought after. Okay, so that's one of the use cases I am targeting, where you don't have to leave your WordPress dashboard. That's what people love doing, and that explains why so many plugins are popular, because they expect they allow people to stay within the dashboard. They don't say, "Hey, can you hop back after going to such and such tool and then come?" Because if people leave the dashboard, they won't come back. So that's the objective I'm pursuing, where people stay in the dashboard, create ebooks as lead magnets, and establish themselves as experts in their respective fields. And apart from lead magnets, I'm also looking at an audience of educators, where teachers can create handbooks out of regularly posted blog posts or even course material. So let's say a course material is spread across multiple courses, and you want to create a handbook that will combine the content across multiple courses. You can just summon the post from across courses and put everything into an ebook, and perhaps even sell it. So
well, that was another interesting. Yeah, that was another sort of intuition I had, is that, again, back in the day, it seems that selling ebooks was a real thing. I've seen much less of that, but presumably there's nothing to stop you taking the output of whatever it is that you've created, your ebook, and selling it with, I don't know, WooCommerce or something like that. You could easily do that.
Yes, that's true. And that reminds me of a popular influencer in India who regularly tweets motivational quotes, encourages people to take the right steps in their careers and in their financial journeys, okay? So one day he rolled everything into a printed book and it became a bestseller.
Oh, nice.
some people realized that this actually is available online, and in the review they said, "Hey, I've read all this." So it's an absolutely legitimate way of, you know, turning all your content into a valuable book that you can sell, and you absolutely deserve the money that people will pay, because the whole experience is immersive. It is distraction free. You don't have to hop from one tweet to another. You don't have to, you don't have to get distracted by the internet content that is overflowing from all over. It's one book, and it definitely deserves to have a value.
I don't know if this is a thing that you deal with, but maybe it's something that might be on a roadmap, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But there's this whole kind of industry that began. I don't know how well it's going. I don't know if people are still doing this, but I know that self-publishing books became a thing for a while. So you've written a book, but you don't really have the time or the capacity to go through the traditional publishing houses, who may require, I don't know, there's a whole lead time there, and a lot of people get rejected and what have you. And so creating this content, turning it into an ebook, and then publishing it on those other platforms. So for example, the Kindle platform, it's huge. There are countless millions of people who've got that. I don't know if that's something which the plugin handles, or those integrations are something that you're building, but just really to let the readers know that kind of thing is also an option. You can self-publish to Apple, certainly Amazon, Kobo, I would imagine the same as well.
Yes, that's actually planned on the roadmap. I'm planning to include a lot of integrations to make sure that your site can turn into a full-fledged self-publishing platform. So you don't have to knock at the doors of publishers and wait and suffer the trauma of rejection. You can publish on your own terms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. So speaking of roadmap then, I injected an item into your roadmap. You've just mentioned that the idea of exporting to these publishing networks is also on the roadmap. Is there anything else that you want to mention just before we round it off? Is there stuff that you're working on at the moment that you think people would be interested in?
Yes. In the roadmap, I'm going to be including more formats. I'm going to be including templates, so that you can beautify the output. Right now, the output looks pretty good, but there might be a few rough edges. I'm getting started, but I wanted to make sure that I go ahead anyway. Okay? And I've got some positive feedback about the output. But yes, the formatting is high on my priority list. Okay? So apart from that, like you mentioned, I'm going to be working on the self-publishing integrations. I'm going to be working on several plugin integrations with LMSs, especially.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Lifter LMS, Tutor LMS, and learn that. I'm also going to be working with integrations with the feed aggregator plugins. Right? We have a few popular ones like RSS aggregator, feed. So these plugins help you curate content. So why not go one step further? Transform the curated content into ebooks. Okay, the right attribution. I think you can boost a lot of value for yourself.
So you could subscribe to an RSS feed of updated ebooks. That's kind of curious. I hadn't really thought about that. That's interesting.
I was actually thinking of an RSS feed which fetches, regularly posted updates like news or blog posts.
Right.
On your site. Yeah. And you can then pass on that content which is saved on your site to ebooks after repurposing and including attribution.
Right. Yes. Right, the other way around. Okay, that's interesting. Right. Yeah. I could see lots of interesting ways, especially if you were the curator of multiple websites all around the same topic. Being able to use RSS feeds, you could suck in content from all around your own network, from around the web, if you like, and put that into your. Okay, that's interesting. Put that into your ebooks. So I'll just say one more time. I'll read the URL into the record. You want to be going to ebookcrafter.com. Once more, ebookcrafter.com. I will post the link into the show notes. But for now, Naweed, thank you very much for chatting to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Okay, that's all we've got time for this week. If you've got any commentary on that, head to wpbuilds.com, search for episode number 460 and leave us a comment there. We love it when people actually leave us a comment on the website. It really makes my day. We'll be back next Thursday for another podcast episode. We'll be back on Monday for the This Week in WordPress show, and we'll repackage that on a Tuesday. Keep updated about all of the stuff we do. wpbuilds.com/subscribe. Okay, that really is it. All I'm going to do now is fade in some cheesy music and say stay safe. Have a good week. Bye-bye for now.